Hello again. So today, this is probably going to be a little bit more brief, but it really comes from the heart. And this is targeted toward my fellow 30 somethings, or maybe my late 20 somethings or so. People who have either gotten close to or eclipsed that dark age of 30 years old where you're not cool anymore. You don't get to be cool. All you do is just get up, go to work, pay bills, pay taxes, go to bed, get up, pay taxes, so on and so forth. And that's what you do until you die, basically. It's an endless cycle of mediocrity and boredom until you die because you can't do anything cool after the age of 30, okay? This is for you. And it's specifically for you because this is kind of your time, A. And then B, that group specifically started out life not knowing what the internet was, and now literally the internet is everywhere. I am touching the internet right now because it's in the freaking air, okay? And with that, obviously, we have the social medias, or we have access to television programs or television personalities. We have access to all these people who are constantly being kind of slammed down our throats for being somebody, for being the world's youngest YouTuber who plays with toys and gets paid millions of dollars or whatever, or people who play video games professionally get paid millions of dollars, to people who are famous for something. I don't know what, you don't know, nobody really knows what they're famous for, but damn it, you know who they are, and they got tons of money because somebody said their last name enough times. See, we are constantly being bombarded by people who want you to think that they are more successful than they really are. And this isn't to take away from people who are legitimately successful, people who put in the work. Or maybe, truth be told, maybe they got a little lucky. Maybe they were in the right place at the right time. Maybe they know somebody. There's some people who get their stuff through illegitimate means. Again, they've got enough money, or they have the right last name or whatever. They've got people just falling over themselves trying to make their every wish and whim and dream come true, okay? But that's probably not you. If you're watching this video, that's probably not you, okay? What I'm here to talk about, okay, is the people who are to a point in their life where they're kind of wondering, okay, what's next? And you feel maybe trapped by either life circumstances, or maybe you look back and say, I had so much opportunity, I had so much potential. What am I doing now? Where am I at now? What can I even do at this point? This is for you, okay? To kind of go back to some of these people that maybe aren't as successful as you would, possibly believe. That's the narrative that they write. Their whole success is in their narrative. You see ads sometimes on Facebook where there's these jabronis, right? 20 somethings who are driving around some exotic car that, by the way, they don't own. They rented it from somebody, okay? That's not their car. And they're driving around wearing designer sunglasses, and they talk like a jerk, and they have a stack of $100 bills they took out of their savings account the previous day, and they're driving around like, yeah, man, it's real hard being successful, but if you pay me a whole bunch of money, I'll tell you how you can be successful, man. And they don't even tell you like what their business model is, what they do, how they are consistently able to generate said quote unquote success. They don't do anything. They just wave the fancy things in front of you and say, hey, I'm successful because I have stuff. That's not necessarily the one qualifier for if you're successful or not. They try to bait you to give them a whole bunch of money so that they can walk around more $100 bills going, oh man, I'm so freaking rich. That's not what success is, okay? Success isn't going out to a social media platform, and it's not having a bunch of a PR cycle telling other people I'm so successful or whatever. It is one part, yes, what you do and what you're able to really make of yourself, and then one part, how you actually feel about it, and sort of the melting of those two together, right? See, a lot of people, going back to kind of the turning 30 years old thing, right? A lot of people, I think, once they turn 30, they legitimately feel like their best years are behind them, right? They feel like, for whatever reason, that high school, or if they went to college, or even if they didn't go to college, maybe those first few years when they first got out and they were still young and their bodies were made of rubber and they were able to do whatever they wanted to with absolutely no consequences. They look at that and they think, that was the best time of my life. I could do anything, and I was I was somebody. I was on the football team. I was in such and such club. I did these things. We were champions and such, or got high marks in some competition or something like that. And they think in terms of like that 4 to 8 year stretch of their life was it. That is it. And then the other 50 some odd years of their life is just reminiscing on how much they missed those 4 years. That it was the best time of their life, right? And it doesn't have to be like that. See, a lot of people, I think, when they kind of hit, they look at 30 as being old. And really, that's not old. Now, maybe your body isn't as rubber as it used to be, but you're still, to some extent, in some degree of physical prime, or at least decent health for the most part. You know, you are still young enough to be able to learn things, to mold your mind to accept and adapt to new information and new skills and new just directions and ways of looking at things. But you also now have the experience of so many years of working or schooling or whatever to know a little bit better and know what actually goes into it and be able to make smarter decisions. Really, 30 years old for a lot of people is kind of where your life can begin in earnest, okay? Like I said, this kind of comes from the heart because I'm 31 now and I'm kind of dealing with this deal where it's like, well, yes, at this point in my life, to some people, I would have achieved a lot of things, but I still feel like I have a lot more to do. And I kind of almost feel like I'm running against some clock, like, well, so and so has this, or I don't have that, or whatever. There's something where I feel like I'm falling short somehow. And it's like, as the years go on, it's just going to get progressively and progressively harder, and my window's going to shut very rapidly for me to be able to do any of these things that I really ultimately want to do. And I have to remember that, no, again, like, this is me telling this to myself, and I'm trying to kind of tell it to other people in my same situation, maybe because I want to try and help people. Okay, I'm not the jabroni trying to sell you information so that you can make a few bucks kind of quick deal or whatever. No, I'm giving you life advice for free, okay? For free. But a lot of people, I think, kind of feel that same boat as me, where they get to a certain age or get to a certain point in life, or maybe you have kids and you're like, well, my life has to be all about my kids now, which, yes, okay, it does. That's important. But that doesn't mean that your life has to be over. Just because maybe you take a certain job and you say, well, this is a dead end job, doesn't mean it has to be a dead end job. Just because maybe you do something to pay the bills in the short term doesn't mean that you can't pursue some other goal, be it a almost second time job, part time job sort of hobby, or maybe even your full time gig while you're kind of doing what you got to do to pay the bills here, right? When you were a kid and you were in sort of your high school and maybe even college phase, depending on sort of what your family situation was, right? You were not the primary breadwinner, okay? You weren't. Maybe you paid a couple of your own bills or whatever, or maybe as you got older, maybe you, especially if you went to college, maybe you helped pay your own rent or something like that, or maybe you worked for a lot of it, but you still had some degree of financial backing through scholarships or through family or something for the most part. I know there's different circumstances, but for the most part, it was not as much of a do or die type situation as it is when you kind of go out and you're in your mid 20s and you got your apartment, you got your house, you got your stuff, and now all of a sudden that money that used to sort of just pay the bills you never saw, are now all of a sudden coming directly to you, and that comes out of your bank account, man. And it's hard and it's kind of scary, and you're like, wow, now I have to pay for all this, and you start trying to find a job, right? I graduated college right kind of as the Great Recession was coming to an end, and it was really hard to find a job, right? It just you couldn't find anything. And yes, I had these dreams of what I wanted to do, but I kind of had to just get a job in the short term because I had bills to pay, right? One thing leads to another. You're able to sort of graduate up, and maybe where you're that next step isn't where you ultimately want to be, but it is at least a step in the right direction. And these things, they can take time, especially in less than ideal circumstances, right? So again, you have to do what you have to do, but then there comes a point when you are about maybe 30 years old where things are kind of comfortable now, maybe. Maybe not real comfortable, but you at least have a foundation under you. You got your legs locked under you. And I think that's why a lot of people have sort of a quarter life or third life crisis or whatever. They have an existential emergency when they turn 30, when they're like, oh God, Well, what now? And they sort of trick themselves into thinking, well, I mean, I can't go back to college. I can't learn a new skill. I can't do this. I have to go to work, or I have to do this, or I have to be responsible for such and such. And yes, you do. Okay. Life happens and you have to take care of that. You can't just block that out. But you are in a position now, more than likely, where you can start to pursue some of those other dreams that you had. You can take on a different job, or you can shoot for a new role, or maybe a promotion, or a position one day. If you sort of kind of were good at music back in the day but never really pursued it, try it now. There's all kinds of places you can go as an adult musician to not only learn but also perform in front of people. A lot of it, too, I think, is when we're kids, we want to try and do a little bit of everything, right? I wanted to be a singer in a rock band that also did comedy and stock car racing on the side, right? But obviously, you can't do all that. So you kind of have to have the perspective of saying, okay, this is what I really truly want, and this is what I want to pursue. And kind of going back to the social media thing, don't necessarily be tricked by the guy who's just waving cash in your face saying, I can get you money quick. I mean, yeah, everybody likes money, okay? Duh, obviously. But that can't be the only driving factor for why you want to do something. If you want something, you got to want it for the right reasons. And I think that's one of the things about being a little older too, is you're in a position to make more emotionally mature decisions. You don't get kind of your judgment clouded by the cloudiness of social media, right? Let's be honest. Social media and half the crap that you see on TV is smoke and mirrors. It's all fake, right? Like I said, it's people that are just wanting you to believe a certain way or think a certain way, to be in awe of somebody that did literally nothing and now they're just swimming in more money than they can possibly attempt to spend, right? That that may be what you want. If that's what you want, okay, go for it. No judgment. But really kind of take a step back and look at what do you want and where are you at in life. If you see, again, if you have kids and you see a guy over there who maybe doesn't have kids, but he just brought a new brand new car or got a brand new really nice house, and you're kind of thinking like, oh, must be nice, I wish I had that kind of money. Well, maybe he has that money because he didn't want kids, or maybe for whatever reason he couldn't have kids. And so you that's what he decides to put his money and his time and effort toward, is those nice things where you have kids that you legitimately love, and you're not trying to wish away your kids for something over there if that's not really what you want. Maybe you want the money to be able to do that so that you can make a better lifestyle for your kids, but you may not actually want that car. You may actually hate that car. You just would like, you're more saying must be nice about the ability to buy the car versus the actual having of the car itself. See, that's one of those things where you have to have that emotional maturity. And that's where I think a lot of people sort of are when they get to 30, is they have experience, they see what's going on, they've lived enough life to kind of know things, right? When you were a kid, you may have had a certain goal that you wanted more than anything, and you did everything you could to get to that goal, and then you got to it, and then you realized that there was a whole lot of horse manure that nobody prepared you for at any point during all this. And you say, wow, I don't know that I really want to be a part of this anymore. And then you sort of back out and then say, well, did I waste all that time for that? It's not a waste. You were making forward progress. Forward progress made is not a waste, okay? Even if you ultimately don't end up doing much with it, at least you did something. You tried to work toward a goal, right? Time is going to pass regardless of what you decide to do with it. So as long as you're doing something productive or something that's potentially painting a scenario that makes you happier or will make you happier in the long term, then that's what you should be going for, right? And again, the 30 somethings, that's you're in that wheelhouse right now, man. You are in a position where if you want something, this is like that perfect intersection where you can say, well, I've got time, I've got experience, I've got some amount of resources behind me now. I can try to do something. And I get it, not everybody has the best maybe set of resources or whatever, but it is there. You can try. You can always at least make an attempt to try, right? Don't get hung up just because you feel like you're in a bad situation. Don't get hung up because you think, well, this is there's no way I can do anything with this. I'm just locked in or whatever. There's usually always a way to try and move forward and try to do something better for yourself. And that is my advice to you, as much as it's tried to be my advice to me, right? Is don't get hung up on the number of your age, how many candles are on your cake, okay? We hear all the time about all these famous people, Harrison Ford, Oprah Winfrey, Vera Wang, all of them, who didn't really make it until they were like into their 30s and 40s, okay? You got time. You're not up against any sort of clock. Yes, it can be frustrating to see a lot of people whose dreams seem to be coming true all around you, but that's not to say that they didn't work either, or that maybe things didn't just strike for them. And who's to say that maybe something won't just happen for you if you just get out there and start making it for yourself, right? You have to try, and you have to really want it, but you have to have the perspective to figure out what you really want and make those good decisions. And again, my 30 somethings, hopefully you're at a point in life where you can make those decisions and ultimately chart a course that will take you to where you want to be so that you can enjoy sort of your summer years and from there on and have the best time in your life. So I greatly appreciate those of you who have watched this video. Hopefully you learned something. Like I said, this is all stuff that I'm still dealing with and I'm still trying to work through, but I appreciate people who are watching this, and I'm trying to sort of help you to help yourselves as much as I can. We're aiming toward greatness, right? And I want the best for people who want the best for themselves, okay? So until next time, be safe, be careful, and just always do your best, man. Always do your best.